Say hello to Nisim.
Who?
You know Nisim Hadon?
Yeah, is he?
He's the one who he's involved with the computer.
I haven't seen him for a long time. You moved to Brittany, right? You moved to Brittany? When you go?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. So on you download on a base, 14b, just to give a little background on the Gemara that we're starting today. The Mishnah stated, Tameh she'ochel es hakodesh. Someone who's Tameh, that eats Kodesh, that eats Kachim, gets Makkos, he gets lashes. Correct? Aaron, that's what the Mishnah said. Then we also have another din in the Mishnah that someone who goes into the Beit HaMikdash when he's Tameh also gets lashes. Those are two halachot that are stated in the Mishnah. The Gemara is trying to understand the former. What's the source for Tameh she'achal es hakol, to eat kodesh? Because we have sources, both, we know we need a hasara, we need the onesh, right? So at the moment, when the Mishnah is referring to kachim, not truma, the statement of the Mishnah. And the Gemara wants to know what's the source, where's the hasara, where is the warning that you can't go ahead and eat kachim when you're tameh. We have the punishment. We found the pasuk for the punishment. The Torah says is karet, and that's where we had the machloket to Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish of the source v'lazhara. So on the second wide line, alazhara minayin, the Gemara wanted to know. So the Gemara says, Rish Lakish omer b'chol kodesh lo siga. Rish Lakish says, we started a little early, we're going back. So people come to do chazara till 6:45. Okay. Morning. So Rish Lakish said, b'chol kodesh lo siga. He says he has a pasuk in the Torah that mentions the word kodesh. So he understands it's referring to kodesh with the pasuk referring to kachim. So B'chol Kodesh L'Siga. And the Gemara is gonna say, where does he know? Where do we see eating? That's talking about touching. How do you know eating? Because there's a possibility that you can eat without touching. So let's say someone sticks it into your throat. That's not called touching. So the Gemara is going to explain where is the source for Reish Lakish. How does he see in B'chol Kodesh L'Siga eating? But that's what Rashi points out. The Gemara will explain. It means Ashara L'Ochel. So if Reish Lakish found a pasuk in the Torah that says that kachim cannot be eaten when you are tameh. So that is, and what's the source? B'chol Kodesh L'Siga. Rabbi Yochanan did not use that pasuk. He used a Gzeira Shava. He quotes Rabbi Yochanan Omer, we're in the third wide line, Tani Bardila. Bardila Rashi says, Hashem Chacham. That he has a Gzeira Shava Tumoto. It says over here, Tumoto, and it's Karei, and it says over there, Tumoto by Habohel on Mikdash Tameh. So we have two places that say the word Tumoto. And just like Bohel on Mikdash Tameh, if someone comes to Beit HaMikdash when it's Tameh, there's a punishment and a hafara. So too, this Gzeira Shava teaches us the hafara. Because the fact that the Torah used the same word by both of them teach us this lesson of hafara. It is to teach us that to apply the law over there to over here. Just like the famous Gzeira Shava of Chamisha Asa. The law, let's say by Pesach, 15th should apply by the 15th of Tishrei by Sukkah. So the law of Boel on Mikdash Tameh, which is, the law is, here it's more, there's a hasara there, there's a warning, and there's a punishment. So too, here by eating kachim when you're tamei, we're going to learn out the warning, at least from there. Meaning, if we already know the punishment, we're going to say that there's also a warning. And the warning is based on the fact that the Torah makes a Gzeira Shava. It's like it's teaching us the warning. That's the opinion of Rav Yochanan. And then we got to the Gemara, about 5 lines into the wide lines of the Gemara in the Hebrew. The Gemara is trying to analyze why one rabbi, why not agree, what would agree the other rabbis' source. And that's what the Gemara is that's on 14b2 in the art scroll on the left corner. That's what the Gemara is going to strike, right, Mr. Safdie? Try to understand, now officially it's 6:45, when officially. What is the reason why one rabbi does not go with the other rabbi's opinion? Sometimes it's obvious why, one rabbi holds this way, one rabbi goes that way. You can understand sometimes they're arguing in logic maybe or certain things, or you could see why one rabbi would not. But here the Gemara is going to try to understand, going to analyze this. Because the Gemara is going to say, Bishlama, Reish Lakish la'oma kereb. The Gemara says, Bishlama, Reish Lakish la'oma kereb Yochanan. Everyone have in the Gemara? 5 lines into the wide lines in the Hebrew. Mr. Safdie, Yaron. Bishlama, Reish Lakish la'oma. By the way, if you want to notify the group, Yaron, that. Thank you very much. Bishlama, Reish Lakish la'oma kereb Yochanan. Gzeira Shava lo gamir. In order to say Gzeira Shava, you have to have a addition from your rabbi, from his rabbi. Ein adam done Gzeira Shava ma'atzmo. A person cannot make his own Gzeira. You can't use your own logic and say, you know what? The Torah said a certain word here and used a certain word here, and the fact that the Torah used the same word in both places is to teach me. Good morning, Jay. It's to teach me this law.
From his teacher,
Right, exactly. So therefore, Reish Lakish should not say like Rabbi Yochanan, because Reish Lakish's rabbi, he never taught him the same Shava. Never had that tradition in his background to say that the reason for the usage of the same word. Now, Hashem could use the same word. Good morning, Mr. Bitesh. And you could use the same word in different subjects. It doesn't mean that that's coming to teach us a specific law to apply that sound like one subject, the other subject. He didn't have that tradition. So therefore, he says, I can't, therefore he can't use that as a source. He can't use the Gzeira Shava as a source. But the Gemara wants an El Rabbi Yochanan, my time lo omak Reish Lakish. Why didn't Rabbi Yochanan tumato? It says there a tumato by the subject of kachim when someone is tamei, and it says tumato when someone comes to the mikdash when he's tamei. One is eating kachim when he's tamei, coming to mikdash when he's tamei. They're both stated in the situation regarding the punishment, but we're going to learn out that Gzeira Shava that just like there's a punishment, one of your safe and just like there's a punishment and ashara by coming to the mikdash tamei, that Gzeira Shava will teach us the new chidush from the Gzeira Shava is also ashara by the cave that teaches the warning that it's for that you're not of the Torah that you can't eat kachem when you're tamei. That's what the Gzeira Shava does for us. Mr. Bitesh, we are on 14b. We just finished 14b on the bottom. Now we're on 14b3. I mean, now we're on 14b3 on the top. But the Gemara wants to know Reish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan, my time alone, Reish Lakish. Why didn't Rabbi Yochanan say like Reish Lakish? Why didn't he say this? We have a pasuk. Reish Lakish brought a pasuk. What was the pasuk that Rabbi Lakish brought? B'chol kodesh lo sigah. So the Torah brings the pasuk b'chol kodesh lo sigah. That was the pasuk that Reish Lakish brought. Sounds like a good. Sounds like a nice source. Good morning, Navid. It sounds like a nice source. It's a pasuk. It's an open pasuk. It mentions the word kodesh. So what's the problem? Why doesn't he use this pasuk of B'chol Kodesh U'Sigah to teach us the law that you can't eat kachim when you're tamei? Right, exactly. We that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a pasuk to teach us that you can't. That we found the pasuk not entering the mikdash. That the Gemara says we don't need to find a source as we'll call it as hara, a warning of the Torah that you can't enter the mikdash when you're tamei. That the Torah, we have a pasuk that the Torah says v'lo yitamu es machanehem. So the Torah was very clear about not entering the mikdash when you're tamei. The Torah gave the warning, black and white, clear. The Gemara is looking for the pasuk of where is the warning of eating kachim when you're tamei. So the Gemara asks, okay, we got a pasuk. Reish Lakish brought this pasuk of B'chol Kodesh Lo Sigah. So why don't we use that pasuk? Why doesn't Rabbi Yochanan use that pasuk? Why does he come on? Morning, Mr. Haber. Why does he come on to a Gzeira Shaveh, which we all know it's a stronger case? It would seem to be. I know Jake was having was asking about this limud of the Gemara when we were preparing. If you have, morning Adam, if you have a pasuk, which the pasuk could tell us the. If you throw my neck Gemara in there, there's a Gemara from Mr. Haber right in there. If you have a pasuk, if the pasuk could tell us clearly that you can't eat kachim. Just want to remind everyone about the Birkat Torah before we learn. You have a pasuk, so why not use the pasuk? That's the Gemara's question, Mr. Haber. We are back to where we're starting now from we left off on Friday. We left off on Friday that the Gemara is seeking to understand why Rabbi Yochanan did not use the source of Rish Lakish. The source, we have a pasuk in the Torah that says, B'chol kodesh lo siga. So why did all kodesh you cannot touch while you're tamei? So why didn't he use this as a source? Morning, Aaron. Why didn't he, Aaron, just reminding, make sure you say Birkat Torah, the Al Divrei Torah Varevna before we start the class, before you learn, because we're supposed to say those, yes. You cannot do Gzer Shav on your own. You cannot make Gzer Shav on your own. Oh, exactly. Exactly. So that's the Gemara's question. Why, what was the, so to speak, I don't want to use the word flaw, or what was the problem with the other rabbis wanting Nathan? What was the problem? Why didn't you go ahead and say the source of the other rabbi? That's the Gemara's question. El Rabbi Yochanan, my time alomak Reish Lakish. Why didn't Rabbi Yochanan say like Reish Lakish? Okay, as Mr. Safi said, b'chol kodesh lo siga. Nathan, the Gemara is asking the question: why did Rabbi Yochanan use the pasuk of Reish Lakish as a source for teaching us that you cannot eat kachim, holy foods? Let's say you brought a korban to the Beit HaMikdash, you brought an offering, a korban shlamim, or a korban chatat. So if you're a kohen and you eat from the korban chatat, or you're a non-kohen and the Israel will also eat from the shlamim, you cannot eat it when you're tamei. And because you can't eat it when you're tamei, if you go in and you eat it when you're tamei, the Mishnah says you are warned the guy will get lashes. The Gemara wants to know, in order to get lashes, you need a source from the Torah. The Torah has to tell you can't do this thing. Where does the Torah tell you cannot eat kachim, holy foods, when you're tamei? So Reish Lakish found a pasuk, b'chol kodesh lo siga. He found the pasuk. So the Gemara wants to know, why doesn't the other rabbi go with that pasuk? Why does the rabbi pick a different source when you have an open pasuk? That's the Gemara's question. Mr. Haver, is the Gemara's question clear? Why didn't he go with the pasuk that the other rabbi brought? Why did he have to come on to some other source? And also, we don't need a Gzeira Shaveh if it's obvious from a pasuk. So why don't you learn from the pasuk? That's the Gemara's question. We are on scroll 14b3 on the top. So the Gemara says, Amalach, 3 lines, Amalach. So Rabbi Yochanan will tell you, Hahu ashara l'truma. That pasuk is a warning regarding truma. When the Torah says, when you're tamei, when you're contaminated, you cannot touch kodesh, it's not referring to kachim, it's not referring to things, sacrificial foods, whatever you want to call it, things from a sacrifice. It's not referring to that. That pasuk, when it says kodesh l'shigah, is referring to truma. Even though truma is holy, there are different types of holy items that we deal with. One item that's holy is truma. Truma is you have to give from your grains, your wine, your oil, from your olives. You have to give to certain things you have to give to the Kohen. And that, when you give it to the Kohen, and there is halachot that you're not allowed to go ahead and eat. If you're tamei, now there's one thing, you're not allowed to make it tamei. You're not allowed to make the truma has to be tahar. You're not allowed to contaminate it. And if you go ahead, if you are tamei, you're not allowed to eat truma when you're tamei. The Kohen cannot eat the Kohen's wife, Kohen's children, as long as the girl is not married to Israel, they eat the truma. And they're not allowed to eat the truma if they're tamei, if they're contaminated. And how do you know you can't eat truma when you're contaminated? So he says this pasuk, and not only that, meanwhile we're going to translate it at this point. You can't touch. He uses that pasuk for touching truma when you're contaminated. So you can't. This pasuk, when it says all b'chol kodesh lo siga, it's referring to truma. It's referring specifically to truma, which is also holy. Truma is off limits for non-Kohanim. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan says, I need a pasuk to teach. I need a Gzeira Shaveh to teach me kodesh, things that are kachim, things that are like you bring an offering to the Beit Hamikdash. Truma is not an offering to the Beit Hamikdash. Truma is not a korban. A korban is when you bring the animal to the Beit Hamikdash, or those type of items that are brought as offerings to the Beit Hamikdash. Truma is not an offering to the Beit Hamikdash. Truma, you just go to the Kohen, say hello to the Kohen, say hello to Mr. Cohen, give him some stuff, and you can be in Tel Aviv, and you're giving him the Truma. You're not going to the Beit Hamikdash. So that's what the Gemara says, that Rabbi Yochanan's understanding of this pasuk is referring to a different subject matter. It's a subject matter of Truma, and therefore it's not available to teach us kachim, things that are brought as sacrifice. And therefore he needs to come on that's that's how he explains. See let's continue in the Gemara. Yes. No voice. Right. So the Gemara did not show us how Rav Shlok, the pasuk when it says "don't touch," and he's using it for not to eat it. So Gemara explain how we got to not eating from not touching. Rashi says that the Gemara will elaborate later on that when it's referring to eating. So Rashi says that's something we got to stay tuned, as we said, to figure that out. The Gemara is just taking the statement that you're not allowed to touch the whole kodesh, eating holy foods. Okay, so now the Gemara, V'reish Lakish. We're now on 14b3 up to V'reish Lakish on the top left column. And in the Hebrew, it's about 8 lines into the Hebrew, that's the Navit. The line begins Hahu. V'reish Lakish, you have it, Dr. Navit? Reish Lakish, where is the source for eating truma when one is came in contact with dead body, with dead person or dead animal, certain animal? There is a prohibition. We know there's malkut, eating truma when one is contaminated, tamei, but where's the source? We have a law, the source, where is the warning of the Torah? And Reish Lakish uses this pasuk to teach you kachim, to teach you some parts of a sacrifice, not truma. So if we for truma, so where is his source for truma teaching you that telling you that you cannot eat truma when you are in the state of, is that clear? Yeah. That is the Gemara's question. Aaron? We got Aaron on the right. We're looking for a pasuk. We're in search of a pasuk. We know we have a given. We have a law. The law says there's lashes, but when you're contaminated. But in order for that to be such a law, there has to be a source. The Torah does not punish. We don't get lashes unless the Torah tells us. Where did the Torah tell you can't eat truma when you're in the state of contamination? That is Mr. Baten's source, according to Reish Lakish. We found the pasuk. Nafkele mizera Aharon. The pasuk says about a person from the sea. Hutzarua ozav. If he's a leper is highest levels of contamination. He's not allowed to even be in Yerushalayim. Jerusalem. Someone has leprosy during the time period that he has leprosy until he sees him and that he's purified from the leprosy. Torah says, and also ozav, certain types of not discharges that a person might have, certain types of contamination. The Torah says went ahead and he was in the state of contamination. Bakadoshim lo yochal. The Torah says holy foods until he becomes purified, What does this pasuk refer to when it says Makadoshim? What's it refer to when it says when the guy has leprosy, he cannot eat kodshim? Reish Lakish says this pasuk is referring to truma. The word kadashim, the word holy foods, he understands referring to truma. Now, why does he say that the pasuk is referring to truma? The word kadashim is a very broad state word, holy. Parts of the sacrifice are holy. We know truma is holy. Say that this is referring to truma. So he says the following. The seed of Aharon, that means if you're from the family of Aharon would be, he says, the seed, if you, which means you're a son of Aharon, a son of a Kohen, that would include being part of the seed of Aharon. As you would the reason why you can't from the family of Aharon is because you're contaminated. You have some contamination. You came in contact with a dead body. It says it tells us right. The Gemara did not go into the details of how you became contaminated. And also it talks about multiple. The pasuk talks about different cases of tumah. But
I know, but I feel
you want to say, are there differences in certain things are more strict tumah? Maybe this pasuk talks about a few different things. The pasuk says if a guy was a leper, a zav, or somebody who touches somebody who was contaminated with a dead body, or someone that had a shechva zera. There's many cases of tumah represented in this pasuk. So that's a good question, Dr. David. This is pasuk vav, yes. Look, we see it's the Vayikra. You see in the bottom. Ish Mizer Aaron, food sarua, and he has leprosy, or he's a zav. The pasuk says, right? Okay, it's a good question, Dr. Navid, to look into. How is it a source on maybe these are the only tumas. We have to see how many tumas, are part of this prohibition of eating kachim. All type of, that's a broadness. Okay, very good. So the Gemara says, this pasuk says, if from Zera Aharon, the pasuk says if you're from the family of Aharon, the reason why you can't eat this kachim is because you're contaminated. But if you would not be contaminated, you would eat it. Now, what is an item that a child from the family of Aharon is able to eat if they're not contaminated? That a child could eat. A daughter, a son from the children of Aharon could eat something, but they're not allowed to eat this now because they're contaminated. So truma is an item that if everybody is pure, if nobody's contaminated, if you're a boy or you're a girl, you're a son or a daughter of a Kohen, if you're not contaminated, you have the right to eat. You have the right to eat truma. The Torah is just telling us, but if you're from the children of Aaron, you're a son or a daughter from the children of Aaron, and you are contaminated, so now you cannot eat this item. So now name that tomb. Fill in the blank. What item is the pasuk referring to that says the only reason why the daughter and the son cannot, from the children of Aaron, can't eat this item is because they became contaminated. And if they would not be contaminated, they wouldn't be able to eat it. So the Gemara says that's truma. Because kachim, in the kachim family, we have something called kodesh kedashim, holy of holies. Let's say a korban chatat, a sin offering. Person chas v'shalom desecrates the Shabbat unintentionally, has to bring a sin offering. The sin offering, only the sons of Aharon would eat from the sin offering. The sin offering will not be eaten. Anything that's holy is not eaten by the daughters of Aharon. It's only eaten by the men of Aaron, actually the Kohen himself. So therefore, even if the woman is not tamei, she can't eat from kadashim. So the fact is that kadashim is a plural of you can refer to truma in the plural sense also. Exactly, because it says Zera Haron. Morning, Simon. Because the pasuk says Mizera Haron, the pasuk tells us that we're talking about, the Torah identifies an item that the children of Aaron would generally eat this food, but now they can't. So what item could the children of Aaron generally eat, right, Aaron? Children of Aaron can eat truma. The daughter of Aaron can eat truma, but the daughter of Aaron cannot eat holy kadashim. Cannot eat kadashim that's holy kadashim. So therefore, the Gemara says that's how he knows that this pasuk is referring to truma. And now we found a source from the Torah that somebody who was contaminated cannot eat truma. The Torah teaches us, gives us azara. Torah gives us the warning, and now we know we have the warning that you can't eat truma when you are contaminated. That is the source for Reish Lakish. Exactly. So the Gemara now shoots back and goes to Rabbi Yochanan. Now, what does Rabbi Yochanan do? We have this pasuk. We have this pasuk that teaches you can't eat truma. He agrees with the explanation of the pasuk. He doesn't argue. It seems like the So the pasuk is talking about truma, and the pasuk says when you're tamei, when a person is tamei, we see from the context of this pasuk, we're able to figure out, like Yaron said, Mizera Aharon, the Torah is referring to truma. We see that that's what the pasuk is referring to. So why? So Rish Lakish should have. So Rabbi Yochanan should have already a pasuk on truma. So truma should be on record. We have a source that you cannot eat truma when you're contaminated. So if you have this pasuk, which is clearly talking about truma, because how do we know this pasuk is talking about truma? Because the pasuk is Zera Aron, an item that generally will be eaten by the men and the women of the family of Aaron, and the only reason why they can't eat it today is because they're contaminated. So it's the pasuk talking about truma. So if we're talking about truma, so why does he say that the pasuk of B'chol Kodesh Lo Sigah is talking about truma? So now we have two psukim talking about truma. We don't need two psukim to tell us the law of truma. If you want to tell me a law that you can't eat truma when you're contaminated, tell me in one pasuk. I don't need two psukim. And so that's the Gemara's question now on Rabbi Yochanan. According to Rabbi Yochanan, that he has a pasuk already to teach me truma from B'chol Kodesh Lo Sigah. So why do I need two psukim to tell me the same thing? Because the Torah generally doesn't tell me two psukim to say the same thing unless the Torah wants to teach me something new. Generally, there are exceptions to the rule, and therefore, what did you say? So if you have that pasuk, I don't need the other pasuk. So what do I need two psukim? Right, that's the Gemara's question. The Gemara's question: What is Rabbi Yochanan? Right, because if you're using the pasuk B'chol Kodesh, because Rabbi Yochanan said I can't use the pasuk B'chol Kodesh Lo Sigah to tell me it's referring to parts of the korban of the offering because I use it for truma. But why do you need to use it for truma if you have a different pasuk for truma? That's the Gemara's question. We need like a little board to have everybody chart everything out. But that's the Gemara's question. Again, the Gemara's question is, why does Rabbi Yochanan, at this point of the Gemara, we have two psukim, two verses in the Holy Torah teaching us seemingly the same thing. That is the Gemara's question. Two psukim saying the same thing. Why do we need two psukim to say the same thing? Better say that the psukim are talking about two different cases. Better say in one case talking about truma, the food that you give to the Kohen, and one part talking about the sacrifice offerings. Say one person referring to that, one person referring to this. We don't need two psukim to say the same thing. That's the Gemara's question on Rabbi Yochanan. Is that clear, everybody? That is the Gemara's question. Why do we need two psukim saying the same thing? And you know what Rabbi Yochanan's going to answer you? It's not saying the same thing. One pasuk is telling us a law of eating kachim, eating truma when you're tamei. And one pasuk is talking about touching truma when you're tamei. That's what the Gemara is now going to answer. The Gemara is going to answer now that we're talking about two different situations, and therefore there's two different cases. Two different cases deserve two different psukim to tell us. Morning, Mr. Ajmei. So the Gemara is going to say Rabbi Yochanan uses each pasuk for something else, so there's no extra pasuk on the table. The Gemara's question on Rabbi Yochanan was, seemingly, there's an extra pasuk. We have two different psukim teaching us the same law. Now comes Rabbi Yochanan. Good morning. And Rabbi Yochanan says, no, it's not two different verses teaching us the same law. Each verse is teaching us something else. One verse is teaching you that when you're contaminated, you can't touch the Kadashim, the Truma. You can't touch the Truma when you're contaminated. There's a prohibition to touch the Truma when you're contaminated, and if you intentionally touch the Truma when you're contaminated, there'll be lashes. And the Torah warns us. That's what one pasuk is talking about. That's the pasuk of B'chol Kodesh Lo Siga. Don't touch the Truma. Then we have another pasuk that even if you're not touching it, hands off. Someone's sticking it into your throat. Like a shish kebab, right? A barbecue, whatever, shish kebab. They stick it into your throat on the stick. They put the truma into your throat. You didn't touch it, and that's not called touching. So put it into your throat. We don't consider that touching, that type of thing. And you eat it, and you swallow it. You open your mouth. Maybe you're going to open one, Nathan. The hard business, the restaurant business. And when you put it into your mouth, they put it into your mouth, and you're contaminated. You're not allowed to go ahead and do that. So that's two different sukkim. One for touching truma when you're contaminated, and one for eating truma when you're contaminated. That's what he said. That's what the Gemara says. The idach hahu lachila v'hal negiah. One is talking about eating, and one is talking about touching. So now at this point, the Gemara is saying, okay, we figured out the psukim. We explained Rabbi Yochanan. Now the Gemara is going to continue. Reish Lakish. Now we're going back to Reish Lakish. For Reish Lakish in the Hebrew, it's about 10 lines, the first word of the line. And in the Art Scroll, it's 14b3. It's the top right column. Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish, Hai b'chol kodesh lo siga. The pasuk of all kodesh you're not allowed to touch. Lahachihu da'ata. You're telling me that pasuk is teaching me I cannot eat kodeshim. That's how Reish Lakish used it. I can't eat parts of an offering. If I am contaminated, if I am tamei, I cannot eat parts of an offering and that was the source. That was the warning of the Torah. But the Torah says, "B'chol kodesh lo siga." So the Gemara says, but he needs to refer to something else. Hahuma boyele the tamei naga b'kodesh. He needs this pasuk for someone who's contaminated that touches parts of the animal of the offering. Now the Gemara established, we already said Rabbi Yochanan, when it comes to truma, there's a warning on touching truma when you're contaminated and eating truma when you're contaminated. And the Gemara is now saying, we found on record that Reish Lakish used the pasuk of B'chol Kodesh Lo Siga to teach you that when you're contaminated, you can't touch holy parts of an offering. But now, so how could he go ahead and now use it for another law, for eating the offering when you're tamei? The case where they put the shish kebab in your mouth. Those are two different cases. And we also said, you're going to say, Rabbi, if you can't touch the truma, the kachim, the sacrifice parts when it's on the shish kebab, certainly you can't eat it. We said the Gemara says you can't use kal v'chomer to teach me a warning of the Torah that you will subsequently give the guy lashes. So even if you're going to try to make a case that if the Torah tells you, warns us you can't touch the piece of the sacrifice when you're contaminated, that's not going to teach me the law that you can't eat it when you're contaminated. That's not going to teach me the prohibition. So therefore, at this point, the Gemara's question is, we have two laws stated by Reish Lakish, two teachings, independent of the other, using the same pasuk. You're double dipping. So the Gemara says you can't use the same pasuk to teach me both teachings. The pasuk is teaching me one or the other, not both. So in order to teach me two different things, you need two different points from the pasuk. The Torah needs to tell me two things to teach me two things. For one statement, we're not going to learn those two things. Okay, but the Gemara is focusing that on how we have a record of Reish Lakish's ruling. Reish Lakish went on record two different times. And our Gemara, Reish Lakish went on record and he said, the warning for not eating holy sacrifice, parts of a sacrifice, when you're contaminated, is from this pasuk of B'chol Kodesh Lo Siga. That was his record. So the Gemara is now questioning that statement. You're telling me that that's what that verse is coming for? We found it's coming for something else. Come for touching it, not eating it. So how could he use it for both, to teach me both laws? That's the Truma. Now we're moving back to Kachim. That's Truma. So good. But he's saying the Reish Lakish says the whole Kodesh Osiga is talking about Kadashim, not Truma. Okay, but he doesn't say that it's before. He understands the pasuk talking about Kadashim, not Truma. So the Gemara says, Reish Lakish, Hi b'chol kodesh l'siga. The word b'chol kodesh, good morning, Mr. Ashby. The word b'chol kodesh l'siga, l'hachi udata, it's coming to tell me kadashim, that you cannot eat kadashim. Hahi meboyele l'tamei shenaga b'kodesh. Someone who's contaminated who touch holy parts of a sacrifice when he's contaminated. And by the way, I presume part of the idea is if a person's contaminated, the Torah says if you're in the state of uncleanliness, it's not respectful to you to go ahead and handle kadashim, handle holy food. It's a lack of respect, just like it's a lack of, the Torah says, there's an idea of kavod to the Beit HaMikdash. You can't come to the Beit HaMikdash when you're tameh. When you're in the state of tumah, you have to have respect. So the Gemara says we have the pasditma. Tamei shenaga b'kodesh. Someone who's tamei that touched parts of a korban when he's tamei, Reish Lakish says he gets lashes if he's warned. He gets lashes for such a thing. Rabbi Yochanan said there's no lashes for touching parts of the korban when you are contaminated. We'll see tomorrow more about this machloket. It's a very complicated Gemara, everybody. V'chanan ben Akasha Omer Rosa Kosh Baruch Hazakas Yisrael. Fikach Hirem Taramid Shenema Adinech Hafetz V'Mas Adil Torah V'Yadir. Amen. Amen.
Go on.
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbi Barach L'Beir Bayir. Amen. 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 Have a great day, everybody. Good to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. You're safe. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Yes. If you could speak to your brothers if they're available. Available.